Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard Podcast with your hosts, Collin and Braeden Cox. And today we are going to be previewing the NL Central. Braeden and I are actually going to do an episode previewing each division, NL Central, NL East, NL West, and same with AL. We're going to go one episode at a time for each division. So this is actually our first segment doing this. As you know, today is March 2nd. So getting right into it here on In the Yard with baseball season right around the corner. So we're going to give you just kind of our predictions and how the standings are going to go regarding the regular season for all these divisions. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna start with the NL Central, and I think Britt and I have some pretty hot takes with the Central here. We last year we had some hot takes surrounding the Central, and I think this year we are as well. I know one of the more up in the air divisions out of all the divisions in the
Yeah, for
league.
sure.
So we want to start with NL Central. Thought this one would be one of the more fun ones. So yeah, let's get right into it here, Braeden. Um, so last year between the NL Central in 2023, it seems like there was, it was between the Reds, Cubs, and Brewers for the top NL Central spot.
Yeah.
Brewers pulled away kind of in September there, so then it was basically the Cubs and Reds battling for the last wild card spot, and then they kind of both blew it at
Yeah.
the last 2 weeks there. So yeah, Braden last year was high on the Reds. Last year I was high on the Cubs as my kind of dark horse team, but they both ended up missing the playoffs. So we're going to give you our preview for this year, what we think is going to happen regarding those teams and everyone else in the Central.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this of probably all the divisions in baseball, like it's not one of the better ones, like just
Okay.
overall, right? But as far as like wins from just like last year, the Brewers had 92, like you said, they pulled away late. Cubs 83, Reds 82, Pirates 76, and the Cardinals were 71. So they were all like basically within 10 games of each other, those last
Yeah.
four teams. And for a while, the Brewers were in that fight as well. So it's one of the more like, I guess, balanced, you can say. Like there's no like
Mm-hmm.
clear favorite team that like you go into the season and you're like, yeah, this is the best team in the division. I don't know if anybody can really sit here and be like, yeah, this is definitively the best team in this
Yeah.
division. So that's what's
Yeah.
going to make it interesting.
And honestly, out of all of everything that happened in the Central last year, with between the Reds winning so many games and the Cubs
Yeah,
almost sneaking in, the most shocking thing to me was how bad the Cardinals were. I think
exactly.
everyone had them really high up in the standings. I mean, it's not like they really had many injuries that for the reason of like losing so much. They kind of just weren't winning games to start, and then
It wasn't their year.
yeah, it just wasn't their year. I mean, and they just could never dig themselves out of that hole that they dug themselves into in April in the early season there. So I think that was the biggest shock to me. But yeah, let's get sort of predictions. So Brandon would start 5-1 or 1-5.
I think we go 5-1. I
All right,
think
let's
we
go five to
go.
one.
I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. So give me your five to start.
Yeah, my five. I
And
think
like, yeah, are you gonna? I'm gonna throw in like how many wins I expect them to have.
okay. Yeah, you can
That's
do that.
fair.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. So actually, I just want to start with Fangraphs prediction real quick.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they're
Fangraphs
high on the
has
Cardinals, right?
yeah really high in the Cardinals. They have them winning 83 games. Uh, and then
Okay.
they have the Cubs in second, Brewers in third, Reds in fourth, and Pirates in fifth. So let's go over like what we think is going to be different about from Fangraphs to our predictions. So yeah, I think at 5 to start, I'm going to go with the Pirates. Fangraphs has this, but I think they're a young team. They just didn't really make that many moves in the offseason. They decided to roll this Chapman, but I think that's kind of really the only splash they got made. So I'm not high
Yeah.
up on them. I mean, I enjoy watching them play last year. They were America's team for a little bit there. Um, but it
They
just
gave
seemed
that
like they're
one
right
guy a
there.
ton of
This is
money
they
though.
what's that?
They gave that one guy a ton of money too. That was like their two big, I guess you could
Reynolds?
say off-season
Was it
moves.
Reynolds?
No, it was Mitch, right? Or whatever his name is. Mitch Keller. They gave
Uh,
him a ton of money.
okay. And then they have not Ellie De La Cruz. They have O'Neill Cruz, who's a solid shortstop.
Yeah.
He was down for a little bit last year. So maybe
Yeah.
they started off really hot last year. They were kind of leading. They were kind of in talks for the division to start the season. It kind of fell off though. But they're a young team, but they just didn't make enough moves this offseason. So I have them at my 5. I'm assuming you do as well.
Yeah, I also have him at five. I have him about 75 or so wins. Basically duplicating what they did last year. They had 76, but they got Brian Reynolds, they got Brian Hayes, they've got like,
Yeah.
noteworthy players in
Mhm.
Pittsburgh.
It's their pitching
Um,
that really is
yeah,
every year it
yeah, and
seems their pitching's
they're a
awful.
very very young team. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I
Got
always like
Sawinski,
low key root for the
Bay. Yeah.
Pirates. I always low key root for the Pirates because they're one of those teams that like
No
they
one hates them.
always are. No one hates the Pirates. You know
Right.
what I mean? Um, and every like few years, like they're like they surprise. Like I mean, last year they started the season incredibly well, right? I want to say, and you can fact check me on this. At one point, they were like 20 and like 7. Like I don't know. Like I could have sworn they had like an insane start. Maybe it was more like 20 and 15 or something like
Yeah, I
that.
mean,
But
I
something
think they
that
just had
nobody
more
was
of
expecting.
a better start than people expected, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then they kind of just fell on the earth. Law of averages there. But yeah, I'm gonna have them at 5. But looking forward to future years, I'm gonna have more and more expectations for the Pirates. Hopefully they can you know, I hate to say turn it around, but become like legitimate threats in this division. But for now, I'm gonna have them at 5.
Yeah, so last year they won 76 games. Fangraphs predicts them to win 77. Um,
Okay.
so take that with a grain of salt, I guess, too. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah.
All right, so give me your 4 team then. Fourth in the
So
NL
my
Central.
4 team might shock you. Okay. Um, Last year's division winner, the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm gonna have at 4.
That's fair.
And again, we talked about this from the jump. I think this division is a complete dogfight. I have the division winner winning 84 games. I have the last place team winning 75. So all 5 teams will be within 10. So pretty much this can go any way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just not huge on the Brewers, and I think part of that is they lost Corbin Burns,
Yep.
right? 2, last year they're the team it seems that almost always makes the playoffs, but then does nothing with it. I remember when we did our postseason predictions. I had the Brewers as kind of like a sleeper team that they were going to get out of the wild card against Arizona, and then we're going to go to the Dodgers and give the Dodgers trouble. Right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember if I had the Dodgers winning that or the Brewers. I may have picked the upset in the Brewers, but regardless, the Diamondbacks, you hate to say dominated them, but looked like the better team and didn't had like 10 less wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just don't have a ton of belief in the Milwaukee Brewers. I like some of their players, but at the end of the day, I think this division is going to be so tight. Someone's going to have to finish 4th, and I'm going to pick the Brewers this year.
Yeah. I mean, I also had the Brewers picking fourth. I feel like we're gonna end up having the same list here.
Okay.
But to me, Corbin Burns was kind of he was obviously their ace. And
Yeah.
then losing him, they kind of heavily relied on their pitching, it seems like, to help them win
Yeah.
games. And then losing your ace obviously doesn't help you. And your manager, Craig Counsell, is now the manager of the Cubs. That
Yeah.
happened as well this offseason. So I think it's gonna be a little bit of a rebuild. Like you said, they're going to be there. But yeah, I just don't think they don't have that spark that's gonna be able to put them over the top of like the Cubs or the Cardinals, or the Reds. As those are the
Exactly.
3 teams you have left on our list there.
Yeah, and again, I think it's really important here to, focus on the fact that this division, like I said, is going to be a dogfight. I think like the Brewers, in my eyes, like they could win this division. They could also finish last. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because it's going to be so close. So you kind of have to
Yeah.
take it all with a grain of salt because
Yeah.
the Pirates last year started really high. What happened? They ended up finishing 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And then one last note here. So Brewers won 92 games last year. Again, Fangraphs has them winning only 80 next year, which is actually a losing record.
yeah,
Only 80 games, so it's a negative 12 win differential between the years. Um, so just do with that what you want.
yeah,
Take note of that. All right, so I'll give you my third team. This is kind of tough for me.
yeah,
Um, because I had the Cardinals, who like was really high in everyone's expectations last year. Um, and they just didn't win games. It seems like, I don't know if it was their pitching or their hitting or everything at one. Um, But for third, I kept changing my mind about who I think is going to finish third. But I think
Third
I'm
versus
gonna
second.
roll. I think I'm gonna roll with the Cubs at third.
Okay.
I know I was high up on my Cubbies last year, but to me they didn't make enough moves this offseason. I know you re-sign Bellinger and that's great, and they get the Japanese pitcher.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
know who you're
like it
talking about
was
though.
like Imanaga or something like that.
Something like that.
But
Yeah.
he's never pitched in the MLB before, so how do you even know how he's gonna play out? But to me, just the Cubs kind of were like a fluky, streaky team last year. Um, and then this year to me they didn't make enough moves to put them over the edge. Um, they did hire Craig Counsell, which is great. They re-signed Bellinger, which is great. But to me, it's going to be tough for them to win games, in my opinion. But like you said, I think this division is so close they could be there toward the end. But I just have them finishing third this year.
Yeah, it's funny. I also actually have them finishing third. But I think I went back and forth with the 2 and 3 too, because I was like, you can make a solid argument for either. Um, you know, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, yeah, they signed Bellinger and they got that Japanese pitcher, but like, what else really? What changed? And like, I don't think a ton changed for a lot of these teams, right? But the Cubs last year, 83 wins. I probably like expect them to be around that, like I said, like 80, like the 80 mark, I think is fair expectation for them. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. They didn't do enough to convince me that they can win this division.
I have a feeling, Brandon, we're going to end up with the same exact list here. Um,
That I mean, I'm not really surprised there, but we'll see where this goes.
yeah, yeah. So the pitchers they signed from Japan is Shota Imanaga.
Yeah,
I think I'm saying that
yeah,
right. So just loaded that. So yeah, I think like we both kind of are on the same page with the Cubs with all these teams. It seemed like as well. So give me your two. I think I know we're gonna go with this one. Oh, by the way,
yeah. So
Fangraphs has the Cubs finishing second actually in the Central, um,
okay,
and winning 81 games compared
yeah.
to
So
their
like that's
81 games that they won last year. So they have them
yeah,
finishing with the same record, but this year finishing second in the division. So
yeah. So at two, I'm gonna have the St. Louis Cardinals. And honestly, my only true like method to the madness here was like I I kind of trust Vegas a little bit here, right? If Vegas is telling me that they have like the fifth or sixth best odds in the NL, you can fact check me there. But like if Vegas is giving them really good odds to like potentially like go to the World Series, like there's something in me that can't deny that, right? They know something, and they do have Arenado. They've added Sony Gray. I think that does make a difference. Last year they won 71 games, and I think that was bad season for them by our
mhm.
standards. So I think we all expect them to win, probably 10 more. And by that logic, they're the 2 seed. So that, I don't really have too much, to add there. But I think for one, I trust Vegas too. And I think Sony Gray, the addition of Sony Gray, um, and of course, Matt Carpenter makes a big difference for the Cardinals this coming season.
Yeah, I think Matt Carpenter obviously he's going to help a little bit. But yeah, I also have the Cardinals finishing second. Yet like they have a very good roster. You have Arenado, you have Goldschmidt, you
Yeah.
got Newt Bard in outfield, and you have who's their shortstop now? They went out and got Brandon Crawford too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what his role is going to be. I think it's between him and Mason Wynn for the shortstop job, for the starting shortstop job. And like you said,
Yeah.
they go out get Sonny Gray. But to me, like I still feel like going out getting Sonny Gray wasn't enough for them. Um, so
To
I'm
win
not
the
super high.
division.
That's why I don't have them finishing first in division like Fangraphs does. Um, so let me read you a quick little stat here. So last year, Cardinals
They
won
also have
70.
Lance Lynn.
Okay, Lance Lynn is kind of getting older now, in my opinion.
True, true. I'm just throwing names
Um,
at you.
Yeah. So Cardinals they won 71 games last year, and are projected to win 83 games in 2024 according to Fangraphs. That 12 win that 12 plus win jump from year to year is actually third out of everyone in the majors behind the Royals and the Athletics. And I think that's just because the Royals and Athletics lost so many games last year. That's
Yeah.
gonna be hard for them. But so basically,
Yeah.
Fangraphs, besides the last two teams, are saying that the Cardinals are going to win more games, a lot more games than did last year compared to other teams. And Vegas is saying the same thing. Vegas and Fangraphs both have them as a favorite to win the division. So, but I'm just still not super high up. I'm sure they had them last year favored to win a division too. Look what happened. So it's gonna
Yeah.
be. It all depends. And yes, they go out and get Sonny Gray, but I don't think Sonny Gray is gonna have as good of a season as he did last year. He had a really good
That's
season. I
fair.
don't think he's gonna be that good again. Like
Yeah.
I'm saying he'll be solid, but I don't think he'll
Yeah.
have I think he's probably second and third in Cy Young. I don't think that's gonna happen again.
Yeah.
So yeah, just not super high in the Cardinals. They are a good roster. I almost had them third, just because of last year what happened. Like they just didn't win enough games. I could see the same thing happen again this year, but put them at second, kind of going with the Fangraphs and Vegas odds there a little bit.
Yeah. And again, I don't know the last time that we saw a team finish dead last in a division and then suddenly become the clear-cut favorite in their division the following season. Because that's basically what Fangraphs and like Vegas are saying. They're saying like this is the best team in the division and it's not really close. They won 71 games last year, right? So I think that they're going to improve.
In the division. Yeah.
I think they're definitely going to improve, but I can't sit here and, maybe a month or two into the season, my opinion will change. But I haven't really seen enough, like you said, this offseason, the addition of Sonny Gray and, like you said, Brandon Crawford, Lance. Like they've got players, they've got a good roster, but they won 71 games last year and finished dead last in the division. Yeah. So
with the former
it's hard for me to sit here and be like, yeah, they're gonna win this division. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they have Wilson Contreras too now from the
Cubs.
Like
again.
Oh, what's up, Sailor?
Sailor making an appearance.
Yeah. Sailor, get down. But he like I said, I just not that I love the Cardinals, but I don't think the Cubs or the Brewers or the Pirates made enough moves this offseason to put them ahead of the Cardinals. So that's kind of why I'm going with the Cardinals at second there. That's my last thing.
Yeah. I think both of our logics here are the exact same because we're both going to have the same number one Cincinnati Reds.
Number one. We're rolling with the Cincinnati Reds, Braeden's 2023 Reds. I'm hopping on this train now. I think they looked good last year. I don't know if you guys follow us on Twitter, but I posted that they had the biggest win jump from 2022 to 2023. They were tied with the Rangers at like 20, I think, something like that. So I'm really high up on the Reds. Their pitching is my only concern with them. Like they don't really have these star-studded pitchers, and I think that's why Fangraphs also has them finishing fourth. I think that's Fangraphs and Vegas probably concerned about the pitching, but they didn't have the pitching last year, and they were right in the wild card race. And this year, I think they know who they are. I think they know what they're capable of. Last year they were a young team, and now they know what they're made of, and they'll have that experience. And I think it's really going to put them over the edge. The only thing, like I said, is their pitching is a concern, but I think they'll be able to overcome it in the end.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% here. I think that they definitely have more of an identity now. I think they somewhat put the league on watch. I know they didn't make the playoffs. They still didn't. You didn't look at the Cincinnati Reds and be like, oh, they could go into the playoffs and really upset someone. I know upsets happen all the time in baseball. I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks were in the World Series, right? So anything can happen, but I don't think anybody was like, whoa, the Cincinnati Reds. But I think this year it's going to be a little bit of the same, but they have more of an identity going into the season. Got De La Cruz, you got McLean. Like they got good players on this team. They kind of play in an off market. It's definitely a baseball city or sports city in general. But it's not a Chicago, it's not a Los Angeles, it's not a Miami, it's not a New York. So I think they have that going for them.
Cincinnati was actually the first city to have the first professional baseball team. Cincinnati Red
Stockings. But you get what I'm saying here.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Just a little fun fact for you.
So yeah, I mean, I expect them to win 80 plus games this year. I expect them to make the playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like this is a team that can win the World Series, right? Because like I don't think they are, but they're one of those teams that could probably go into the wild card round and shock some people.
Yeah, I agree. That's a
So
good
I'm
point.
excited for the Cincinnati Reds. I was high up on them last year. I'm excited to see what they do this year. Um, and just one final time, I'll say it again. Like this list could go completely haywire, right?
Yeah,
We could still see the Brewers win this
this
division,
is
right? It's going to
definitely
be
the
so
yeah.
close.
It's definitely
I've
one of the most
got,
up in the air divisions in the league.
yeah, I mean, basically, I've got 1 through 4. I just threw a number down for total number of wins, all within like 5 games,
Yeah,
right? So we're talking like a series, the final series of the year can completely, you know, change the trajectory of all of these teams' final standings. So, but I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Reds
so
to win the division
in the yard is on the exact same page
for
regarding
the
the
NL
NL
Central.
Central. So
Yeah,
I think I do have a feeling that our other divisions are going to be a little different though.
yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, this one is just, to me. There's very good teams in this division. It's five. You could say 3 to 4 very good teams, and then kind of like an average team like the Pirates. There's no
Yeah,
great teams where you're like, wow,
yeah,
this team is good. There's no Braves or Dodgers or Orioles or Yankees. This is
yeah,
kind of just consists of a lot of very good teams, but nothing, no one like great. But we'll see
yeah,
how it plays out.
yeah, for sure.
Thanks for listening in the yard. And then also, if you have not yet RSVP'd for the Yankees at Phillies in the yard tailgate on July 29th, be sure to let Braden and I know if you'd like to attend, preferably by March 15th around that time. So we can
Yeah,
book the tickets. I think we're around like 20 definites now, Braden, something like
yeah,
that.
that's awesome. It's gonna be a good
So
time.
yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Just reach out to Braden or I if you're interested, and we'd hope to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
Yep. Thanks for listening.